People live and breathe relationship. True or not? Yeah? Anyone going to argue against me? No? Oh, that's disappointing. So it's quite nice in an audience to get one person arguing against it. So how many relationships, what kind of relationships are you involved in life, people generally? What kind of things? Family, business. What else? Pardon? Community, yeah. Social, of course.
Oneself.
Pardon?
Oneself.
Thank you. It's a really important one. That's at the key of everything, of course, is what I said, referred to earlier on as the intrapsychic relationship. Get this bit right with the centre of gravity, establishing the way we spoke before, and then everything else will follow from there. But accepting that's happened, you're all in relationship with each other. True? You're all here today. You're all part of the same organisation. But my experience is people often use this term without really understanding what it is and what goes to make the kind of relationship that will support you, the other, the group, in achieving what you want to achieve. So what I'm going to do now is share with you what we call the 5 elements of relationship as a framework and a tool that you can use to allow yourself to go that bit further towards that apparently chaotic state. Newness can potentially equal chaos, can be scary, that's why people back away from it. Using this framework, based on the low centre of gravity, will enable you individually or collectively to go to all sorts of exciting places, as hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate. So, what I'm first of all going to do, I'm going to quote what I see as my established authority, which is Clarkson's reference points. And this is the academic bit. And then I'm going to show you what we've done with it in terms of translation and explain each of the 5 elements. The first relationship Petruska talked about was what she called the fundamental relationship, the working alliance, the basis of what you build stuff on. This is the centre of gravity, the foundation bit. Then she talked about the distorted relationship. Now, I don't know if anybody comes from the psychological or psychotherapeutic background in this room. Some people might understand the word transference and countertransference. A nod from the side of the room. You're from a familiar term. But you know how it can get in the way of a relationship. And for those people who don't understand the term, it's stuff you bring from another place into the relationship you're having. For example, if I wanted to invite this rather wonderful-looking lady out for dinner tonight, and we got on really very well, I'd need to be very careful of the fact that this relationship was as clean as possible and wasn't being distorted by my previous experience. We all do it all the time, and we need to create a sense of awareness around that. And, yeah, so people get the point we can distort relationships by transferring material from another place. The third one she talked about was the developmental and reparative relationship, the path for development. Once you've got your foundation and you've acknowledged what's distorting the relationship, based on the distortion, you can repair that relationship and then set the pathway to develop it. But if you don't have the ability to do the reparative work and you don't have a strong enough foundation, it doesn't go anywhere. Again, I'll tell you a bit more about this later on. And then we aspire to what we call the real relationship, the person to person. Ever had that feeling when you're with somebody else or another group of people and it just feels good? It just feels right. Yeah? Most people have that kind of experience at some stage in their life. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had to do it all the time? At will. Whenever you wanted to. Interested? Use this and it works. And then when you've got that in place, the person to person, you can then move on to the 5th level, which is what we call the ideal relationship, the transpersonal, taking it to a whole new level of awareness and consciousness. So, back to the working alliance. We'll talk about it in slightly more detail. Now, Professor Clarkson talked about this, the basic contract by which people agree to work together within an organisation. This is the contractual element. Lots of information here, the basis and the foundation. Now, we translated that slightly to read, in order for anyone to operate effectively and efficiently, we need to be clear about who we are, what their role is, and what they're doing. Oh, thank you. So you can back out of the room. I'm quoting text isn't on the screen. I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, how many times have people found themselves in situations whereby you've said, if only I'd have known, or why didn't you tell me, or if only we'd have sorted that out at the beginning? Recognise this? And it could take an awfully long time later on to kind of unravel all that. So that's what makes this particular relationship so important. It's the detail bit, the what. The distorted relationship Again, Clarkson refers to that as known in some psychological disciplines as transference. In an organizational context, best understood as a human relationship equivalent of unfinished business. It's business that relates to another place, another time, that's being brought into this present relationship and distorting it. We can probably all think of all sorts of examples in our lives. It's often more obvious in personal relationships than professional relationships, but I'm sure we think about instances in our professional relationship where this happened. We translate that into being aware of what is preventing and obstructing development and progress. If there's unfinished business coming into the relationship and distorting it, it's going to prevent it going where it needs to go. So you've got to basically get on and clean it out. Ever had a personal relationship with somebody and you start to get very close and intimate with them, and suddenly it feels you're not having a relationship with that one person, but it feels like there are 4 or 5 people in the room? You know, their mother, their aunt, their father, their whatever else you want to say. This is what this is all about, the transference. Then we move on to the path for development. Now, Clarkson talks about this. This is where an organization's human resources are built in an incremental, linear way using conventional training and developmental psychology approach to training. This is planning the path forward. But in order to do that, you've got to make sure it's strong, it's secure, well repaired. You've got something to build it on. So we translate that into building the path, but more particularly, the developmental program is something that gives everybody involved something that they appreciate. As human beings, we are fundamentally self-centered. And if we think we're going to get something that benefits us in particular from whatever we're doing, our level of motivation will increase. We may not be able to get everything that we want, however, we get enough of what we want to motivate us to carry on to the next level. And then we come on to the ideal relationship. And this, Clarkson talks about this as the person-to-person dimensions of human interaction, which are the glue of social intercourse in the working community or within an organization. It's the glue. It's the personal dimension of human interaction which glues the whole thing together. And again, it needs to be as clean and as uncontaminated as possible at the moment when you really meet people. And we describe this as the ideal way of operating and being together. If we, as I said earlier on, if you could create this at anywhere, any time, this would be a great way to operate. So this is what we all aspire towards. And then we come to the 5th element, the ideal relationship. Am I giving people enough time to read this? I'm not clicking through too quickly. People okay with it? Fine, okay. So Clarkson refers to this as when considering the organization's wider mission and purpose, unlearning is particularly important because the relationships are likely to involve unpredictable step changes rather than gradual incremental evolution, which is a bit of a mouthful, but what it means is progress doesn't come in nice, easily mannered bits. Sometimes it comes as great big lumps, sometimes there's never enough of it. But if you use this 5-level relationship, element of relationship model, you have the ability to kind of sort it out in a way that supports you, the other person, and the collective. And we translate that into the language of saying achieving and maintaining an optimum balance. The key word there clearly is balance. It's balancing all the different elements that are involved in the relationship and making sure that people are in a strong state of personal balance, and that's the intrapsychic bit, and the interpersonal part, for the majority of the piece of interaction. So that is what you want to work towards, and that's normally supported by the sense of people contributing something, but it's maintaining the balance. So again, to run through what we've done, when we call them the first element, we've got the coming together, the forming of the working alliance. The second one, being aware of what is preventing, obstructing development and progress. Third one, how to move forward in a way that benefits all concerned. 4th one, identify an ideal way of operating and being together. And the 5th one is achieving and maintaining an optimum balance.